Well, yesterday we talked about the dead zone, the gray area of training. And today we're going to talk about the red zone. So we've got the dead zone and we've got the red zone. But the red zone is one of the most important aspects of increasing your capacity to race, certainly at the top end, Olympic distance racing, 70.3 racing, short course racing. And to a certain extent, it's needed in Ironman as well. There are periods in an Ironman where we need to be able to go to anaerobic threshold. We need to be able to go there and we need to be able to recover during the course of a long day. Now, the interesting thing for me as a coach is that a lot of people tend to try to pull anaerobic threshold from above. So let's just say you've got a maximum heart rate of 185 beats a minute and your anaerobic threshold is 173 beats a minute. So working above anaerobic threshold, let's say at 177, 178 and pushing yourself, we have this idea or this concept that when we pull the threshold from above, we're going to get faster. In my experience, it doesn't work like that. Personally, what I find a better way of operating around anaerobic threshold is to push it up from beneath, right? Which means we work at or slightly below anaerobic threshold, and we work on increasing our speed over time for that same intensity. And we let the speed increase as a result of working just below the red line, 1 or 2% below that red line that we think we can sustain. Now, certainly when people go out and do any kind of time trial, they go out 10, 15 beats above anaerobic threshold and have to come back. To my way of thinking, that's not a smart way of operating. You're better to put your ego on ice at first, start off a little slower, work your way into the anaerobic threshold zone, and then let it percolate. Sit there on the red line, relax on the red line, get comfortable with the red line. Become comfortably uncomfortable. Find out how you can down-regulate as you suffer. And you can only do that by developing anaerobic threshold at or slightly below. Because when we're pulling from above, we're always paying back, right? Like we're taking deposits out of the bank that we've got to pay back with interest, which means that we might be, let's just say 5 beats above anaerobic threshold. Then all of a sudden, boom, we've lost 10%. And then we're, okay, our heart rate might still be at threshold, but our speed is just lost 20 seconds a kilometer. That's not smart training. That's not efficient training. There's no efficacy there. It's junk. Well, it's not complete junk, but it's just not efficient. It's not an economic way of working at anaerobic threshold. So my point here is if you can learn to slowly develop anaerobic threshold by working just below or just to, you can learn how to get comfortable with it. You can learn how to let it circulate. You can let it arise. You can let it sit there. And then you find out in time that, you know what, I can sustain anaerobic threshold. Now, if you go into an Olympic distance with having this philosophy in mind and you've trained this way, then your ability to go deep on race day will be vastly enhanced because you've got a capacity to already work at anaerobic threshold. Now you're asking it for 5% more, which it'll come up with. But if you've been taxing that system and you're constantly paying that system back, the second you go to tap it in a race, you're going to lose that 10 and 15% again. You know why? Because that's the way you've trained. You've tried to pull from above, you haven't pushed from beneath. It's a really simple way of working, but it's a really efficient way. It's a model that is not only sustainable, it's a model that gives you the next gear on race day. And that's what we all train for, right? I mean, if we can't step up on race day, if we can't find an extra 5%, then we've done something wrong with training. We've left too much out there. We've gone too far above what we're capable of. So it's to just put the ego on ice. Now, you can apply this to just about every zone, AT1, AT2, all the different power zones that you use, all the swim zones that you use as well. If you use this philosophy, right, of pushing from below, not pulling from above, you're going to find yourself developing. Not only that, you're going to find yourself developing year in and year out. No plateaus. Now, people say to me over and over again, I've plateaued again, I've plateaued again, I've plateaued again, and you'll ask the same questions and you'll get the same answers. I've been to track, I've been, smashing myself on the ergo. My heart rate's not as high on the ergo, so I smash out higher watts. It doesn't work. There has to be a level of RPE that you bring in to this aspect of training, where you're not only measuring anaerobic threshold, you're getting the feel of anaerobic threshold. Because on race day, when you're hitting anaerobic threshold, it's your internal clock and your internal dialogue that is going to give you the guidance of where you need to sit around anaerobic threshold, so you don't overdo it to such a degree that you got to pay too much back. So it's about expanding your awareness in training methodically, consistently, day in and day out. Let's just say, for example, you've got 4 anaerobic thresholds sessions in a week, and you're pushing those from below over months, and they're getting faster and faster and faster. Then on race day, you ask for that 5%. You get that 5%. You've got this confidence that rolls in behind it. And then lo and behold, the next year you do the same thing, and guess what happens? You get faster. You get stronger. You get more efficient. You have more economy. You use your oxygen in a more efficient way. You know what I mean? You're no longer using up all your oxygen. You're actually using it so that you can expand the oxygen in your body, so you can function faster for lower heart rates, lower intensities. The philosophy goes right across the board. So my last piece of advice on this is, when you do anaerobic threshold sessions, push them from below. Don't pull them from above. Don't come up with some airy-fairy metric where you think you'd like to be running a 30-minute 10K when currently you're only capable of a 35-minute 10K, and then you go onto the track and you're running 30-minute pace for a 400. That's not sensible training. That's not anaerobic threshold. That's trans. That's way above. It's not helping you. It's costing you. So I really hope you've gotten something from this, and thanks for listening.